Buongiorno. What is going on, guys? It is I, Alberto. How are you doing? I'm well. Thank you for asking. Yeah, I'm currently sitting here in Amalfi, Italy, and I said, what the heck? Let's do a little podcast setup right now. Didn't bring a tripod, but I'm currently using a desk, couple of pillows, and five stacked books as my tripod. So we're making it work, guys. So I decided to do this podcast because I had just hit 10,000 followers on Instagram. So thank you all that are following me. I really appreciate you guys. It's been a crazy 15, 16 weeks of doing this podcast, and hitting 10K is pretty nuts. As of right now, I'm currently sitting at 10.7K. So we're almost at 11K followers. That's pretty freaking nuts, man. So I put it on the stories. I put it on all my feeds that I'm going to do a Q&A recording. Apologies for all the noise. I'm clearly filming outside, showing the aesthetics, you know what I mean? But yeah, so I decided to do a Q&A, and I got quite a few questions, and I'm going to answer at least 10 questions. Well, little life update. Currently, I'm in my honeymoon right now. We're on our second week of our trip, and it's been an insane first week so far. We started in France, started in Paris for a couple of nights, then went south to France to explore the French Riviera, and now, that was a blast. And now we're currently on day 3 of Italy, and here in Amalfi. And so yesterday we rented out a boat and just traveled throughout the entire Amalfi coast. I'm going to Positano and all that good stuff. After this, we're gonna go rent a scooter, I think, and then just go explore the town, explore the vibes out there. So yeah, it's been a wild 2 weeks so far, or a week and a half, should I say? And we still have another week and a half to go. So we're excited. I'll touch on more on the vacation once I get back home and the trip is completely over. But let's get to these questions. All right, first question: can I have your autograph? GS, I got you on the autograph, man. Whenever you get back in town, I got you. All right, question number 2. How do you get over creative blocks? How do I get over creative blocks? The way I get over creative blocks is just simple. Step away from the computer and just go outside and let that sun hit you, breathe in that fresh air. And one thing I've been doing a lot since I got this piece of equipment, I purchased a one wheel about a year and a half ago, and I call it a little mini vacay. And so I get on that board and I just start riding throughout the PCH and this strand in Oceanside. So I just ride around, and that gives me some sort of clarity, man. It's weird. And so I'll stop at a park. There's a park right in front of the beach. I'll stop, sit down, and just reflect, I guess. And for some reason, every time I go back into the computer after I've done all that, sometimes I even go for walks too. I've been doing a lot of walks lately, which I'm trying to get as many steps as I can. So I'm racking up about 1.5 to 2 miles of steps. That's not even including the gym, which I do like 30 minutes of Stairmaster almost daily. And so, yeah, once I get back, I feel just good, man. I don't know, just being outside makes me feel good. Seeing the ocean makes me feel good, which is why I'm constantly around the ocean. Something about the ocean, man, just gives me some sort of energy. As spiritual and as corny as it sounds, dude, it's true. I don't know what it is about the ocean, but I feel like I need to be around the ocean nonstop. I'm not a city guy, not a big city guy. Like even in Paris, and I'm going a little off track right now, but screw it. Even in Paris, like after 2 nights, I was like ready to like bounce. Like I'm not a city guy. I want to be by the water. I want to be by the ocean. And this right here is like paradise to me. So the way I get out of creative blocks, going back to the question, is step outside, let the sun hit your skin for a solid 5 minutes. Of course, I'm wearing SPF, so don't forget to protect your skin. And just breathe in that fresh air, go for a walk. It just declutters everything from my mind. I go back into the editing booth and I just freaking start ripping it more. So that's how I get over creative blocks. As far as filming though, sometimes just watch some sort of like inspirational video on YouTube. If I see some sort of travel video that I want to like, say if I want to like do some sort of travel video here, and prior to the trip, I didn't know how I wanted to tackle this. I would just look at either Instagram inspirations or YouTube inspirations and kind of go from there. So that's kind of how I do my creative, like filming aspect of creative ruts if I'm feeling any sort of creative ruts. Question number 3. What system do I use to keep clients happy? As far as systems, I use quite a few, I think. The first one I could think of is Honeybook, which is a client relations management system program and software. And so, yeah, if you're interested in that, link will be in the description. But yeah, this helps me keep my projects organized. This helps me keep my invoices organized, my planning and whatnot. So I use that. And as far as like the payment processes, like I've always gotten a pretty solid response when it comes to like paying. They're like, oh, this looks very professional. Yeah, let's do this. I remember having one specific client who I booked, and I went through the whole CRM process, and I sent him the invoice, the contract, and the proposal, all that good stuff. And the individual client is like, oh man, like this is really sophisticated, and he's like, oh, just I could just tell that you take this very seriously, and we want to book you. And this ended up being like a $12,000 project. So yeah, that CRM worked. Other systems that I use, I mean, of course, I use Adobe and all that stuff, but that has nothing to do with the client. But one thing that I like about Adobe is that it comes with another software called Frame.io. I suggest everyone who has clients, if you're a videographer specifically, Frame.io is going to be your best friend. That's the best way for me to do like quote unquote editing sessions where I show like a draft to a client, draft number 1, draft number 2, et cetera, and then from there they could add their notes to a specific part of the timeline, which is completely accurate. And so whatever they put in the timeline, it goes and correlates straight into your Adobe Premiere timeline, which is amazing. So that's another way that I do that. It's way better than going through emails and having to decode what they're trying to say. Like, hey, in marker 039 to 041, I want this. Like, that's just lame and unprofessional, and it's going to be a headache if you do that. I used to do that way back when, until I discovered Frame.io, and then Adobe purchased them. So now it's free for me. So it's even perfect. Well, not technically free, because if you pay for the Adobe subscription, Frame.io comes included as well. So that's a double plus right there. Who inspires you on creativity? That's a good question. Who inspires me? I used to be like a huge like Sam Colder stan, Matt Como stan, but I mean they slow down on the actual posting on YouTube. But I mean, I can't really think of a specific individual. I mean, I'm a huge like Christopher Nolan fan. I love his creativity. I love his way of filmmaking. The music that he selects, the just like the whole aspect of time on his films. I love that concept. And so I try to implement as much cinematic from his world to my own work. But other than that, I can't think of individuals. Just whatever I find on Instagram, whatever I find on YouTube, I just kind of go with that. Of course, the Peter McKinnons of the world as well. I mean, who's not inspired by Peter McKinnon, especially way back when. So, but again, I just watch a bunch of random stuff. I'm not a fan of like remembering who's who. It's weird. So like even with music, like I'm a fan of a bunch of music, but I couldn't even tell you the name of the artist or the name of the song. I just kind of just go with what my Apple playlist tells me. And I just know what I like and I know what I don't like. And I just star it. And that's as far as I go. But as far as like the artist or the specific song names specifically, I can never tell you which song I like. But as far as like creativity goes, yeah, I mean, what pops up, of course, is like the big filmmakers like Christopher Nolan, Tarantino, and Denis Villeneuve. I don't know if I said that name right. The one that's doing Dune, Denis Villeneuve. So I can't say his name. I can't figure it out. But anyways, those guys for sure inspire me. Any advice on how to generate leads? Okay, quite simple. I'm just gonna do what I did. I offered a lot of free work in the very beginning, if not very, very cheap work. And so I did my best. I took it as if this was a $50,000 job. So I wasn't half-assing it. I took this very, very seriously. I imagined them being a high-budget client, and I talked to them like as if they were a high-budget client. And I think that's what helped me propel fairly quick, is because I took this very seriously. And this wasn't just a side hustle. This wasn't just, hey, let me make a few bucks here and there and do whatever with it. I knew I wanted to do this full time. And so, yeah, again, free to very low pay work. That's what I did in the very beginning, and it's worked out for me. Once you do get past the initial stage of like getting some clients on, and then you're going more in, you're going more deeper into your profession, then of course there's social media ads that you could do. I personally never done social media ads. Most of my current work has been through literally word of mouth. So again, this goes back to providing a great experience, taking this very professional and taking it very seriously. That right there has the clients, hey, spreading your name, which is like organic, and it's like the best way to get and generate new clients. So yeah, that's been a way of doing that. Plus some sort of collaborations, people that I work with, like say in a wedding, if I'm working with a photographer, which most likely the wedding couple hired a photographer, I'm going to introduce myself and just give everyone a great experience to be around me. Be fun, be cool, be chill. And then from there, I've had wedding couples and planners refer me to new work, and it's currently still happening. So yeah, just again, I know I'm saying the same thing over and over, but I can't stress enough, like, yo, take this seriously, be a chill person, be cool, take this, be responsible, be assertive, be punctual, all that good stuff. It's going to take you far. How did you build your following? Okay, so I'm assuming you're talking about the podcast, which hit 10K recently, currently at 10.7K at time of recording. There is no secret sauce to it, man. I just posted daily. That's literally what I did. Posted daily. I slowed down from posting daily from 7 days a week to 5 to sometimes 6 days a week. I for sure take Sundays off. So just posted daily. I made sure the content that I was posting has a quality look. So using a nice camera, having decent audio, which right now I'm using the Rode Wireless Go, which I always use, but I'm actually using the actual square thingy. I don't know the actual receiver or transmitter, one of the two. Anyways, so I make sure I have some sort of quality audio, quality visuals, and have some what I call bars. I make sure the pieces that I put into the Instagram feed, TikTok feed, and YouTube Shorts, that I'm putting bars. It's a hip hop reference, guys. The last guest didn't know what that was, so I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, I just make sure the person who's going to say something, or if I'm going to say something, they're dropping gems for the, so whoever catches it on Instagram or on whatever social platform, they catch it and like, oh, wow, this is really cool, man. This is like really informative. Let's see what else they got. And then from there, just looking at weeks upon weeks of work. I touched upon this on the last solo podcast. But yeah, that's pretty much what I did. There is no secret. It takes a lot of work though. You do have to film a lot. You do have to edit a lot. I know podcasters that just film and edit the one podcast and throw it on social media, maybe like one post, and that's it. That's not enough. Not enough in 2023, guys. I used to do that in the last podcast. We'd post probably like 2 to 3 times a week of micro content, and we didn't grow much. I think we got to like 1,500 followers, and that took like well over a year. And the wild part is like the social media for the podcast. I mean, it surpassed my personal gram, which at the time I think I have like 3,500 followers, and I've had Instagram for so many years now, and it took a long time to get that. So to gather success on social media, you definitely need to have some sort of strategic plan. Clearly, this podcast is an informative podcast. The 2 ways to succeed on social media, I think, is like know what your audience wants. So people either want to be entertained, like laugh at comedy skits or laugh at cat videos or whatever, or they want to be informed by watching motivational stuff, which I think I'd fall in that category, or watching tutorials or how to do things. So yeah, that's kind of the 2 ways of growing on social media. Do you still do free shoots? Oh man, I've got this beat right here. Yeah, I still do free shoots actually. Like I said in some of the previous podcasts, I'm working on a couple of docs, and me and my boy Rafi, which is free for us. We're actually paying out of pocket. We paid for a studio session for a specific look that we wanted, so we actually paid for this project to make this happen. And we're still in the works of it. We still need to do some B-roll in LA, and I still need to do the interview portion for the music artist that I'm also working with. So yeah, I still do free shoots, but I'm doing free shoots on things that I want to do, not on something I don't want to do. So if someone were to come and offer like, hey, my baby is turning 5 years old and I want you to take some photos of the party. No, dude, I'm not. First of all, I wouldn't even consider even if I got paid for it. But if I'm looking for work and that were to come, I'm not doing that for free. Like hell no. Like it's something I do not want to do. Check out the podcast with Stormy. She really broke it down as far as like the free work and how it benefited her. So I would highly recommend checking out that podcast. She really killed it, and she's really benefiting from doing free work initially, and now she has long-term retainer deals with those same clients where she did free work for. So, but I'm not ashamed to do some free work. That's a fact. Especially if it's something I really, really, really want to do, I'm gonna do it. Or if not, very, very cheap. But for the most part, no, I'm not doing free work. But again, if it's something that interests me and I really want to do for myself specifically, I'm talking about for what I want to do, then yeah, of course I'm gonna do it. Nastiest thing you've ever filmed? I mean, I wouldn't consider this necessarily nasty, but I guess the most ick thing, which wasn't too icky in my opinion, was doing some. I've been doing a lot of medical stuff, filming treatments, like beauty enhancement treatments. Not necessarily like liposuction or like any of that stuff. It's more like needles in the face to like not necessarily Botox. I don't know. I don't even know what the hell this is. And I've been working with these people for a minute. But it pretty much like helps with your skin and whatnot. So it's like needles that go into your skin. That's as far as I've done, which again, to me, it's not nasty. It's whatever. But that's as far as nasty, if you want to say. That's like as far as I've ever done. What made you get into business? I simply didn't want to work for anybody. That's as simple as it gets. But I do remember as a child, I vividly remember thinking like, man, I do not want to do business. Like it sounds horrible. It sounds like a lot of work. And again, I was like a kid, like probably like 10 years old. I think I wanted to be a veterinarian at the time. Most kids want to be vets or doctors or firemen or whatever. So yeah, I knew I didn't want to do business back then. But then the older I got, the more experience I got, I clearly realized that with a traditional job, there's a ceiling for you as much as how much you get paid and whatnot. And once you get to the very, very top and you work your ass off to get to that very, very top, that's as much as you get paid. And with business on the flip side, you could literally go unlimited. Like there could be a month where you're making $25,000. Like it's crazy, man. And there's months where, of course, there's the flip side to the business side where there's ups and downs. But unless you have a strong business structure, it's only going to go up from here on out. And I feel like I'm in the right path. But going back to the question, what made me want to get into the business world is it kind of just happened organically. I didn't know where this was going to take me. And the more I did videography, photography, I then learned that, okay, business comes with this side of work, with this field of work. And from there, I was forced to learn it. I mean, I knew for sure I didn't want to work at the hospital again. Like sometimes I get nightmares of working at the hospital, and it's been like 7 years since I've worked there, or 6 years since I've worked there, and I still like. I always tell like Kristen like I need those nightmares once in a while just to keep me motivated and keep me on my toes because I don't want to go back to that lifestyle of working 12 hours for shitty pay. So yeah, I mean, I just wanted to work for me. I could take 3 weeks off as I'm currently doing right now. And it's Gucci, man. I don't know how to explain it, man. It's just, to me, it's a no-brainer. But it's definitely not for everybody. I've seen people try to do it. I mean, of course, I wasn't there from the very beginning to the very end. But I see people try to do it and they just don't. They just fall off and they go back to their normal routine, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with trying new things. But I think this goes back to the podcast again with Tim, where it says like, do you have the grit? Like, I don't know if that's teachable. Like some people either have it or they don't. I think it's teachable, but it's going to take a lot of time to teach that person. Like, hey, open your eyes. You could do way more. You could do way better for yourself. But again, it's either you have it or you don't, I think. And I always believed in myself that it is weird. I always knew that I was meant for way more than having a regular job. I always knew that, dude, from the very jump, dude. And yeah, I think it's clearly showing like I'm doing what I want to do right now. I'm traveling to where I want to travel right now. So, yeah, I always knew it was meant for more, man. So you got to believe in yourself. Do you think it's okay for some photographers to wear Crocs during a shoot? This is kind of a funny question. It's kind of a weird question, actually. Crocs, I'm not sure. I'm not a big Crocs fan. I know people love Crocs. I personally am a Birks fan. I've been using Birks for a few years now. Kristen got me into the game. And then I see Cole Bennett wearing them too. I'm like, dude, this is dope. Like, all right, it's okay to wear Birks. So I have used Birks at shoots before because I was trying to literally copy Cole Bennett. I remember when I used to work at the real estate office, and I was like their social media guy and videographer, photographer. And I would show up in Birks because I knew if I knew there wasn't a shoot day and it was just going to be an editing day, it was cool if it just wear Birks. I mean, of course, I would wear socks and stuff like that. I'm not going that casual. But then I kind of stopped, and then I started wearing tennis shoes. Right now I'm wearing depends on the kind of shoot, I guess. Because sometimes I wear dress shoes, sometimes I wear just like athletic shoes, and but for the most part, that's the only two that I'm wearing. I stopped wearing Birks on my shoot. So is it okay to wear Crocs, sandals, whatever? It depends on the shoot, depends on the vibe, depends on the client. So it just depends. Can you see yourself leaning more into podcasting or videography? Interesting question. I don't know, man. It depends on how far this podcast goes. Right now, I'm currently having a lot of fun creating. Of course, it's always a little bit more fun when you see some sort of success and growth on the podcast. But I think, let's say, even if I got to like, I know this is a stretch, but let's say if I get to like Joe Rogan status, I think I'd still be doing videography. But I'd probably do videography for myself because the creativity is never going to run out for me. So I will continue creating. Let's say I can still see myself creating like docs, even way back when, like 10 years from now. I can still see myself doing that. So if the podcast continues to grow miles and miles ahead, then of course I would still like to continue doing these podcasts because I genuinely like having these conversations with these creatives, entrepreneurs, freelancers, whatever you want to call it, because everyone has a different background, everyone has a different story, and I think it's important to have those stories shared for the world to listen to because there's someone out there that probably has a rough, and they think that it's impossible for their situation to make it. But if they hear a certain individual that has a similar background to them, then gives them inspiration to, you know what, pick up a camera or do more for themselves, then that's all I want, man. So, yeah, I would still continue doing the podcast. I would still continue doing videography, but probably not much for clients unless the bag is crazy. But other than that, yeah, I mean, I could see myself continue doing what I'm doing right now, minus a little bit of client work. So we'll see. Thoughts on the new drone? I'm assuming you're referring to the new DJI Mavic 3 Pro that just got announced a couple of days ago. I know DJI also dropped the Inspire 3, the long-awaited Inspire 3, which is definitely not for any of us. I don't even know the freaking price for that. I don't really know that much information. I just saw like a quick little video on it, but yeah, kind of like tuned out. But the Mavic 3 Pro was pretty interesting. It now has 3 cameras compared to the Mavic 3, the normal Mavic 3, because now there's 3 versions of the Mavic 3. Mavic 3, Mavic 3 Cine, Mavic 3 Pro. Oh, no, 4 versions. Mavic 3 Classic. This is so stupid. But I currently have the Mavic 3, which has 2 different cameras. A regular 24 millimeter, it's equivalent to a 24 millimeter lens, and a telephoto lens. It's like a 7X, which is equivalent to like around, I want to say 170 millimeters. I don't know by the top of my head. So the new DJI Mavic 3 Pro has 3 lenses now. Has the 24 millimeter, which the Mavic 3 has, and the 7X zoom, which my Mavic 3 has. But now this one has a 3X zoom, which is equivalent to, damn, I don't even know the actual concrete numbers. But yeah, it has 3 different cameras now. But it's basically the same thing. I think the little upgrade as well to that is that it all shoots in Apple. It's capable of shooting Apple ProRes, which is very hard to get. I've never shot Apple ProRes. I'm not going to pretend like I know much about Apple ProRes. The only thing I do know about Apple ProRes that the files are stupid large, but it's super creamy to edit on. So if you think about it, I shoot in H.264 or H.265, even with this camera right here as well. So it has a lot of information, but it's squeezed into a small little package. So then when you throw that to the editing software, it's hard for the editing software to go through that small little compact space to get all that information. I know it sounds weird, but that's kind of how it works. Where Apple ProRes is a huge, let's call it a storage room, and all the information is all right here. And so the editing software, you put in the editing software, it's easier for the editing software to go through all that because there's a lot of space to work with. That's pretty much the dumbed down version of Apple ProRes. But will I upgrade? I mean, obviously not, because I am enjoying the Mavic 3, my Mavic 3. I don't see, of course, I mean, the 3x zoom would be kind of cool to use because I do use the 7x zoom a lot, which is beastie. Like I get some really great quality videos with that compression look, and so I am enjoying that. I still love my standard lens as well. Shooting at 5.1K, beauty, and shooting at 422 10-bit and D-Log, so it's creamy, man. I'm shooting some amazing stuff out here, and I can't wait to share it to you guys. By the way, if you guys are interested, by the time you're listening to this, I have a lot of my honeymoon content, which is aka travel stuff, on my personal account, _Mendoza_ shameless plug. But if you're interested in seeing some of the work that I've been doing for myself, go to my personal page, check out my stories, and yeah, I have it all highlighted there. So feel free to check them out. What's your favorite content to shoot? Travel stuff. I love doing those like 5x5 frames on Instagram. That's something I really love doing because it's still vertical, but you're still shooting horizontally and keeping it traditional, which I appreciate. You get to use some of the best moments and just throw it in there. Doesn't necessarily have to tell a story. Sure, some people could rebuttal like, oh, it's microwave content, whatever. But I enjoy it because it helps me. It keeps me sharp. It lets me practice with color grading and try to match the colors with my A7S to the drone, which is fairly simple when you're filming in log, D-Log, or S-Log. And I love doing that kind of content. I steered away from doing full travel videos for YouTube, like long form. I don't know. I just don't seem, either I lost the passion for creating long form video, or I don't know. It's something I'm trying to figure out. Like I was on a solid roll when I was traveling through South America, and then either I got over it or I don't know what happened. My mind just evolved and just not into it as much. But I want to get back into it, but I just need to figure out. I need to like come up with a plan, like from point A to point B, how to execute this instead of just walking around with my camera and just shooting random stuff. I no longer like to do that and scrub through hours upon hours of just figuring out selects, which, yeah, I need to come with a better game plan. But outside of travel stuff, obviously the podcast stuff I enjoy doing, and documentary stuff, man. Like I said, I want to create more doc style content. I know nothing's officially out. I mean, I've only done one little baby doc, which is in my Instagram account somewhere. And yeah, but I want to get it more into that. Top 10 don'ts in videography and photography. Okay, this is a really good one. 1, don't show up to your shoot late. 2, never dump your files in just one location. Always dump in multiple locations for just in case purposes. 3, never lose your files. 4, never show up to your shoot with media in your memory card. I always show up to all my shoots with a blank slate. I always tell my B shooters all the time, clean cards, because file organization is crucial for me. You never want to get to the point where you run out of storage on your memory card and then you're screwed and you still have another hour and a half of shooting. So always show up with blank, clean, formatted cards. 5, do not show up looking like a scrub. Again, this depends on your shoot, but always show up professional. Specifically for the kind of work that I do, I always show up with some sort of button-up, if not a black tee, black Levi's, and black shoes. I always dress like a ninja, so I try to be low-key and keep it clean, keep it simple, And yeah, no graphics. I never wear any graphics on my t-shirts. To me, it's a little corny, but I know some people like to do whatever they want to do. But again, just this all depends on your shoot. If you're shooting a wedding, you do not want to show up in a t-shirt with a crazy graphics and loud shoes. I don't know. I just like to be low key as possible and be a ninja and be a fly in the wall is what I like to say. 6. This depends on your budget, but I always show up with a backup camera just in case my A camera were to fail. So if I know I'm going to use 2 cameras, I know for sure I'm bringing my third camera, which will be my A6300. Still shoots 4K, so it still get the job done. So don't just show up with one camera because you never know what could happen. You cannot rely on technology. I think this is 7. Do not show up to your shoot with a dirty sensor. So one time I outsourced a videographer and I was out of town for something, and this person shot the event for me, and then I get the footage back, and I notice a ton of disgusting sensor spots all over the picture, and dude, I almost lost my shit. So so yeah, every time I hire somebody, I make sure to tell them, hey, make sure you have your sensor cleaned, either dusted or use a little, I call it a little sweeper thingy. Make sure your sensor is clean before every single shoot. Number 8, make sure you show up with full juiced batteries. You do not want to show up with half juiced batteries. Like, come on, man. This goes back to taking yourself serious, man. Show up with everything charged up, gimbal charged up, drone charged up, camera batteries charged up, multiple batteries charged up, by the way. Bring a charger just in case, too. So, yeah, juiced up batteries. Number 9, don't be a weirdo. If you're doing a shoot, do not hit on a model. Do not hit on the talent. Do not hit on a PA, or do not hit on anybody that's involved in the shoot. That's creepy, that's weird, and it's not the vibe, it's not the wave, and just don't do it. Number 10, do not ghost on people. Keep communication afloat. Over communicate, if anything. If you're running late for whatever reason, which you should not be late for, at least message the talent or whoever you're going to be working with. Hey, running 5 minutes late. Get in there quickly. I don't know. Just let someone know that where you at. Don't let people guess. Okay. Do not let people guess. You can't assume that they're in your head and they know what's going on. Okay. So again, show up on time. First of all, I personally show up 30 minutes on time because I like to sit in my car. I like to relax as I'm probably drinking a coffee or energy drink or water, and I look at my emails, I look at the scope of work on my phone just to refresh my memory and make sure, like, okay, today we're doing this, and then after that we're doing this, and then after that we're doing this. So that's what I personally like to do when I show up 30 minutes prior to the shoot. And yeah, man, if you show up on time, you're late, and if you show up early, you're on time. Last question, goals for 2023. It's pretty simple. It's currently what I'm doing right now, is continue the podcast and continue doing good work, continue working hard, continue creating dope content. And yeah, this was my New Year's resolution, and I'm still doing it. So I'm going to still continue doing these goals until 2024 and beyond. So yeah, guys, it's going to be a wrap from here in Amalfi, Italy. Kind of crazy to say that, man. But yeah, guys, if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section. DM me if you guys want. And yeah, guys, I will catch you guys soon. Peace.